The Journeys program at Hospice of Piedmont has been in existence since 2001. Our grief counselors use expressive art therapies to work with children and teens. We have found that these therapies reduce anxiety and help children feel more at ease. This presentation will offer ways to help your children or your students if they are grieving. You will also learn about our bereavement programs. The drawing that you see is a directive that we sometimes use with children. Draw a person in the rain. We can evaluate the style, concept, and context of the artwork and get a glimpse into how they are feeling and how they are coping with their grief. Today, we are using it as a teaching aid and background for the presentation. We will start by touching on current grief theory. Theorists today no longer define grief as a set of stages. Instead, grief is seen as a process, and everyone's grief is different. Some grief theorists, like Warden, Wolfelt, and Rando, outline needs or tasks that need to be met. Examples of these tasks would be accepting the reality of the loss, remembering and memorializing their loved ones, readjusting to their new world. Other theorists, like Niemeyer and Nadia, use a constructivist approach and see grieving as a process where the person reconstructs their world of meaning that's been challenged by the loss. Everyone, including children, need to understand the concepts about death in order to grieve and come to terms with the death. There are wide differences in the ways children of the same age understand death based on their experiences. Young children can be taught and come to understand these four basic concepts. These are the four basic concepts in understanding death. The first concept is that death is irreversible. Children who don't understand this concept may think that their loved one will be coming back as if they're away on a trip. Children don't see death as permanent, they won't have much reason to mourn. The second concept is that all life functions incompletely at the time of death. Very young children see everything as living, even a toy, a doll, or the chair that trips them. They may understand that a person can't move after they've died. They may think it's because the coffin is too small, or they may think they can't see because it's dark. It is important to explain to young children what living functions are and that all of the living functions stop after death. The third concept is that everything that is alive eventually dies. Children may think that everyone they love will never die. They don't understand that everyone eventually dies. They will have a hard time trying to figure out why this death happened. They experience magical thinking and may think there is something they did or the loved one did to cause the death. This can lead to guilt or shame. It is a good idea when explaining to children that everyone dies to let them know that family members are taking good care of themselves. Fourth concept is that death is caused by physical reasons. Children need to understand why their loved one died. If they aren't told and don't understand the actual reason that the person died, they will come up with their own reasons why. These explanations could be worse than what actually happened or could cause guilt or shame. Preschoolers see death as temporary. Young children are concrete thinkers and see things exactly as they appear. Do not use euphemisms like grandma has gone to sleep, or she passed away, or she's gone to be with Jesus. These can cause fears. Young children continue to ask where their deceased is over and over again. They need specific, concrete examples about the physical realities of death. Their thoughts and feelings often come out through play since they have a limited capability to vocalize their feelings at this young age. School-age children begin to understand that death is final, but they do not understand the universality of death. Ask the child what he or she knows about the death. Give them many opportunities to talk about the death. They may not understand the causality of death. Oftentimes they think of a boogeyman or a ghost. They have magical thinking and may believe that they were responsible for the death. Assure them that nothing they did or said caused the death. They may worry that another death will happen and have fears about death happening to someone else. Many children may experience some separation anxiety and need greater attention and nurturing. Remind them that not everyone who gets sick will die. Reassure the child you are healthy. Teens understand death on the same level as adults, understanding all four concepts. They may struggle with the meaning of death, why and how this could happen, and think about the larger questions about the purpose of life. They may question their religious beliefs. Give teens healthy ways to express their grief. Encourage exercise. Listen to calm music. Write in a journal. Draw. Talk to someone. Get adequate sleep and eat healthy.
Some points about grieving children. How do you recognize a grieving child? Some of the signs are physical, like headaches and stomach aches. Children may have trouble sleeping and they may have nightmares. They may find it difficult to concentrate, which will affect their schoolwork. They may also feel empty and lost. Some children will display aggressive behavior as their way of expressing grief. Others may blame themselves for the death because of circumstances or due to magical thinking that something they thought or did caused the death. These kids will feel guilty. A large number of factors influence a person's grief. Some examples are the child's personality, such as are they introverted or extroverted? How old they are, how close your relationship was with the loved one, and the quality of the child's support system. For instance, how well is the child supported by his teacher, guidance counselor, principal, and peers, or at home? Circumstances of the death, such as was it a sudden death, a suicide, a murder, or a long drawn out illness? Some things that may help you to know about a child who is grieving. Some factors include grief is a natural reaction to death, and it is not something the child just gets over. It is long lasting and it will change over time with the child's development. Grief involves not only feelings, but also behaviors and thoughts. Children have a limited tolerance for experiencing grief, so you'll notice they will naturally start and stop. They may be crying one moment and 5 minutes later be playing happily. When children act out, they may really be experiencing strong emotions. Many children will want to share their story, others will not. But it is important if they want to listen and be supportive. They may need to tell it and retell it. Here are some hints for counselors who are dealing with a grieving child. We sometimes hear from students that they wish they had more control over how the news of the death was shared. It is a good idea to talk to the student and family about this. Be aware of any significant changes in academic functioning, whether it is a decrease or an improvement. Either change can suggest that they need help. At the same time, be aware that grades may drop for a while, as they are struggling to focus and complete their work in the midst of a life-shattering event. Don't wait for them to come to you for help. Be proactive in offering support, both emotionally and academically. You might need to help them establish different routines or lighten their load for a while. Another good idea is to offer them a safe place to grieve during the school day. They may be embarrassed crying in their class. When they cry, allow them to, and tell them it is normal and okay to cry. Ask them if they want to share and listen to their story. Be sure to get extra help if needed, an outside counselor, or an Hospice of the Piedmont art therapist. Here are some suggestions for parents to help with your grieving child. Remember to take care of yourselves and be a good role model for your children on how to grieve in a healthy way. It is okay for a child to see you cry. When a child's parent handles the death with good coping skills, the child is more likely to grieve in a healthy way. Tell your children the truth about the death. Even if it is painful like a suicide, it is better they know the truth from their parents than finding out another way. Also, telling the truth to your child will foster their trust. Use language that is appropriate to their age, so they understand. Talk about death in a realistic way and don't use phrases like going to sleep to talk about the death. Allow your children to attend the funeral. This will help your child begin to accept the reality of the death. Children should be given the option after being informed what they might experience. Children rarely regret attending, but do often regret not being allowed to attend. Be assuring that someone will always be there to take care of them. Children will naturally worry that someone else may die. Try to listen, allow crying, and validate your child's feelings. Remind your child that the death is not their fault and help them find ways to remember and commemorate the loved one. Do your best to maintain a consistent routine. Let's look now at the grieving teen. Some aspects about teens that are important. Teens are already dealing with profound developmental changes, including physical, cognitive, relational, and spiritual. They may experience guilt because they are alive and their loved one is not. Or they may be angry because they don't have any control over dying. A grieving teen needs to be reassured that intense feelings won't go on forever. At this age, they can feel invincible and might engage in risky behavior if they don't choose healthy ways to cope. Teens need to experience freedom. It is important for them to feel protected but not controlled. Here are some hints for counselors dealing with grieving teens. See that the school is flexible in dealing with students' needs during grieving. Reach out to the student and invite them to talk, but certainly don't force them. Sometimes the student's grief can be triggered by a conversation, a special holiday, or a song, and it is good to talk with the student about a plan if this happens. Be sure to get outside help if the teen is showing signs of helplessness, anger that is not constructive, if they are being impulsive, feeling isolated, or feeling without hope. Also, the student might need extra help like study aids, tutoring, or a decrease in academic demands. Some suggestions for parents about the grieving teen. Remember to take care of yourselves if you are grieving too. Encourage your teen to help with the planning and to participate with whatever memorial service they have. Teenagers who are grieving still need to have fun, so allow them to have some time out with their friends. Give your teen permission to take a lighter class load and understand and accept if grades are not what you'd normally expect. Teens also need privacy, so if possible, allow them to have a place to call their own. Try to listen to your teen's abstract thoughts without judgment. Do your best to be patient and maintain high expectations for good behavior. This last section will tell you about the services that the Center for Children programs offers free of charge to the community. We provide grief counseling sessions to children and teens. You can meet with the child individually or in small groups at school, from 5 to 10 students. School groups run for 6 sessions and are co-led by a guidance counselor. We can also meet with children at their home or at the Hospice of the Piedmont office. We have 2 types of groups that run throughout the year. The first is the family night group. Families meet together for 6 weeks at the Hospice of the Piedmont office. Sessions start out with pizza, a grief topic is discussed, and the adults split off to talk with a grief counselor, while the children create an art project related to the topic. Another family group we offer is called S'more Journeys Camp at Home. This is a monthly workshop held virtually on Zoom. This is a photo of the children's group talking about the image they made during the art activity. The second group is a group for teenagers called Oasis. This is an 8-week group of teens who have had a loved one die. It meets at the offices of Hospice of the Piedmont, or it can be virtually through Zoom. Grief topics are discussed after eating pizza together. Teens can find supportive relationships to help them through their grief journey. This is a picture of one of our Oasis groups. We have expressive arts therapists at each session, along with at least one hospice volunteer. After the discussion of the grief topic, the teens work on an art project related to the topic. This is a picture of one of the teens sharing her memory box that she made. We offer 2 camps every year, one in the spring and one in the fall for children in the community who have had a special person die. Children come home to camp and do a variety of outdoor activities and an art project to take home to honor their person. This shows a picture of stones that the children wrote their hopes on and then felted using colorful raw wool. Children play games and learn about grief and share their stories. They learn that they are not alone. A music therapist gives the children a chance to experiment with lots of different instruments, and then the music therapist helps the group to write their own song about their grief. These songs are performed at the end of the camp for the parents when they come to pick them up. The day includes a healing circle where the children are given a chance to share their feelings or memories in a safe group setting. We always end the day with a meaningful closing ceremony, such as lighting memorial candles or floating wish boats on a pond. GIST is a program that assists groups in the community, including schools who have suffered a group loss. For instance, there was a young girl who died suddenly at a church, and the GIST support group visited the church, provided grief education, and the children created an art project related to their grief, while a grief counselor spoke with the adults. If a student or staff member dies, you can call us to provide extra support that meets your needs. Several times during the year, workshops are held. During the holidays, Hospice of the Piedmont holds a special memorial service, and prior to the service, children are invited to come and create their own personal luminary to display during the service. Another workshop that we held is a Healing Hearts workshop the week before Valentine's Day. Children had the choice to decorate a heart picture frame or a heart-shaped pocket pillow while their parents received support. This photo is a workshop where children are decorating memorial candle holders using glue and tissue paper. I want to leave you with some resources for you to look at later. The first website is the Coalition to Support Grieving Students, and there is a wealth of information, including downloadable handouts and video clips like the one we showed you today. The second one is the National Alliance for Children's Grief. It is full of great resources. The last one is Hospice of the Piedmont, where you can find out about all of the programs we are offering for children, families, and adults as well. Thank you for viewing our presentation.